What if I told you that a group of fighters in a remote corner of Yemen holds the power to raise the price of everything you buy? What if a single shipping lane, barely 20 miles wide, could determine whether your grocery store has coffee, your gas tank has fuel, and your online order arrives on time? What if the global economy, the intricate, invisible network that delivers goods to your doorstep, could be held hostage by drones, missiles, and a handful of fast boats? This is not a hypothetical scenario. This is happening right now in the Red Sea. Welcome to Power Clash Report. Today, we are breaking down one of the most underreported yet consequential crises of our time, the Houthis' attacks on global shipping in the Red Sea. We are moving beyond the headlines of intercepted missiles to understand the strategic logic, the economic fallout, and the human cost of a conflict that is quietly reshaping world trade. We will examine who the Houthis are and why they are targeting commercial vessels. We will map the critical choke point of Bab el-Mandeb and explain why it matters more than you think. We will analyze the military response led by the United States and its allies, and we will answer the question that matters most. How does a war in Yemen end up affecting your wallet, your job, and your future? Stay with me until the end, because understanding this story is not just about geopolitics. It is about the fragile system that keeps modern life running and how easily it can break. Let us begin with the facts. Since November 2023, Houthis, an Iran-backed armed group that controls much of western Yemen, launched over 100 attacks on commercial and military vessels in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. These attacks have included ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, one-way attack drones, and explosive-laden speedboats. According to the United States Central Command, the Houthis have targeted ships linked to Israel, the United States, the United Kingdom, and other nations they perceive as supporting Israel in the Gaza conflict. While many attacks have been intercepted by U.S. and allied warships, a significant number have either hit their targets or forced ships to take evasive action. The result has been a dramatic disruption to one of the world's most critical maritime corridors. The Red Sea connects the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean via the Suez Canal. Approximately 12% of global trade passes through this route, including 30% of global container traffic and a significant portion of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas shipments. For context, that is over $1 trillion in trade annually. When this route becomes dangerous, shipping companies face a stark choice: pay for expensive war risk insurance, hire private security, or reroute entirely. Many have chosen the third option, sailing around the southern tip of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope. This adds 10 to 14 days to a typical Asia-Europe voyage. It increases fuel costs by up to 40%. It ties up ships longer, reducing global shipping capacity. And it delays deliveries of everything from electronics to clothing to auto parts. This is not just a logistics problem. It is an economic shockwave. Higher shipping costs are passed on to importers, who pass them on to retailers, who pass them on to consumers. Economists at the International Monetary Fund have warned that prolonged Red Sea disruptions could add 0.2 to 0.4 percentage points to global inflation. For households already struggling with the cost of living, this means higher prices at the pump, at the supermarket, and at the online checkout. For businesses, it means tighter margins, delayed projects, and uncertain supply chains. For developing nations that rely on imported food and fuel, it means a heightened risk of social unrest. The Red Sea crisis is a textbook example of how regional conflict can trigger global consequences. To understand why the Houthis are targeting commercial shipping, we need to understand who they are and what they want. The Houthi movement, officially known as Ansar Allah, emerged in the 1990s as a Zaidi Shia revivalist group in northern Yemen. After years of marginalization and conflict with the Yemeni government, they seized the capital, Sana'a, in 2014, triggering a civil war. A Saudi-led coalition intervened in 2015 to restore the internationally recognized government, but the conflict has since settled into a bloody stalemate. The Houthis control much of western Yemen, including the capital and key ports on the Red Sea coast. They are backed by Iran, which provides weapons, training, and political support as part of its broader axis of resistance against Israel and the United States. The Houthis frame their attacks on shipping as an act of solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. They have stated that they will target vessels linked to Israel or its allies until Israel halts its military operations in Gaza and allows humanitarian aid to flow freely. This linkage is strategic. It allows the Houthis to position themselves as defenders of a popular cause, garnering support across the Arab and Muslim world. It also gives them leverage in regional politics. By disrupting global trade, they force international actors to engage with them, either through military response or diplomatic negotiation. In essence, they are using economic warfare to amplify their political voice. But there is a deeper calculation at play. The Red Sea is not just a trade route, it is a strategic choke point. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden, is only 18 miles wide at its narrowest point. This makes it highly vulnerable to asymmetric attacks. A few well-placed missiles or drones can threaten a large number of ships. The Houthis have invested heavily in developing these capabilities with Iranian assistance. They have demonstrated the ability to strike targets over 1,000 kilometers away. This extends their reach far beyond Yemen's borders. It allows them to project power and impose costs on adversaries without engaging in direct conventional warfare. This is the essence of asymmetric strategy, using low-cost, high-impact tactics to offset a stronger opponent's advantages. Now, let us examine the military response. In December 2023, the United States launched Operation Prosperity Guardian, a multinational naval task force designed to protect commercial shipping in the Red Sea. The operation includes warships and aircraft from the US, UK, Bahrain, Canada, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, and Seychelles. Its mission is to intercept Houthi attacks, deter future aggression, and ensure the safe passage of vessels. In January 2024, the US and UK began conducting airstrikes on Houthi targets inside Yemen, including radar sites, missile storage facilities, and launch positions. These strikes aim to degrade the Houthis' ability to launch attacks, not to overthrow the group or occupy territory. However, this military response faces significant challenges. First, the geography works against defenders. The Red Sea is a long, narrow body of water with a busy commercial traffic pattern. It is impossible to escort every ship. Second, the Houthis use cheap, expendable weapons. A drone that costs a few $1,000s can force a warship to expend a missile worth millions. This cost asymmetry favors the attacker over time. Third, the Houthis blend into the civilian environment. Their launchers are mobile, hidden in populated areas, making it difficult to strike them without risking civilian casualties. This creates a moral and legal dilemma for coalition forces. Furthermore, military action alone cannot address the political roots of the crisis. The Houthis' attacks are tied to the Gaza conflict. As long as that conflict continues, the Houthis have a stated rationale for targeting shipping. Even if their military capabilities are degraded, they can resume attacks when they rebuild. This creates a cycle of action and reaction that is difficult to break. Diplomacy is essential to find a sustainable solution. Yet diplomatic efforts are complicated by the fragmented nature of Yemen's conflict, the involvement of regional powers like Iran and Saudi Arabia, and the broader tensions between the US and Iran. Without a political pathway, military measures may contain but not resolve the crisis. Let us talk about the human dimension. Behind the statistics of shipping delays and insurance premiums are real people whose lives are affected. Yemen is already one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with over 20 million people needing aid. The Red Sea disruptions have made it harder and more expensive to deliver that aid. Ports are congested, insurance costs have risen, and some aid organizations have paused shipments due to security concerns. This means that food, medicine, and fuel take longer to reach those who need them most. In a country where children are already suffering from malnutrition and disease, every delay has consequences. Moreover, the crisis affects seafarers who risk their lives to keep global trade moving. Merchant sailors face the threat of missile attacks, drone strikes, and boarding attempts. Many have reported increased stress, anxiety, and trauma. Some shipping companies have offered hazard pay, but no amount of money can eliminate the fear of being targeted in a conflict zone. These are the invisible costs of economic warfare. They are not counted in GDP figures, but they are real. There is also the environmental risk. The Red Sea is home to unique coral reefs and marine ecosystems. A major oil spill from a targeted tanker could cause catastrophic damage. The Houthis have not explicitly targeted oil tankers, but the risk of accidental escalation remains. In a congested waterway with military and commercial vessels operating in proximity, a single miscalculation could trigger a disaster. This is another reason why de-escalation is urgent. Now, let us consider the global implications. The Red Sea crisis is not an isolated event. It is part of a broader pattern of disruption to global supply chains. The pandemic exposed the fragility of just-in-time manufacturing. The war in Ukraine disrupted grain and energy flows. Now the Red Sea adds another layer of uncertainty. Together, these shocks are forcing companies and governments to rethink their reliance on long, complex supply chains. Some are exploring nearshoring, regionalization, or stockpiling critical goods. This could lead to a more resilient but also more expensive global economy. For consumers, this means adapting to a new normal of higher prices and occasional shortages. For policymakers, it means balancing security, economic stability, and diplomatic engagement. For citizens, it means staying informed and advocating for solutions that prioritize human security over geopolitical posturing. At Power Clash Report, we believe that understanding these connections is the first step toward building a more stable world. So what can be done? First, protect shipping without escalating conflict. This requires smart military tactics, such as improved surveillance, electronic warfare, and targeted strikes that minimize civilian harm. It also requires international cooperation to share intelligence and coordinate responses. Second, address the political drivers. This means engaging in serious diplomacy to end the Gaza conflict, which is the stated trigger for Houthi attacks. It also means supporting a lasting peace in Yemen that addresses the grievances of all parties. Third, build economic resilience. This includes diversifying trade routes, investing in strategic reserves, and supporting developing nations that are most vulnerable to supply shocks. These solutions are not easy. They require political will, compromise, and long-term thinking. But the alternative, allowing a regional conflict to choke global trade, is far more costly. The Red Sea crisis is a reminder that in an interconnected world, no conflict is truly local. What happens in Yemen affects London, New York, Tokyo, and Mumbai. Our shared prosperity depends on shared security. Before we conclude, let us recap the key points. Houthi attacks on shipping in the Red Sea have disrupted one of the world's most critical trade corridors, forcing reroutes, raising costs, and threatening global supply chains. The Houthis frame these attacks as solidarity with Gaza, leveraging asymmetric capabilities to project power and gain political leverage. The U.S.-led military response has intercepted many attacks but faces challenges of geography, cost asymmetry, and the political roots of the crisis. The human cost includes delayed humanitarian aid to Yemen and increased risks for seafarers. The global economic impact includes higher inflation, supply chain uncertainty, and a push toward more resilient but costly trade patterns. Sustainable solutions require a combination of smart defense, serious diplomacy, and economic adaptation. The path forward is narrow but not closed. It requires leaders to look beyond short-term tactics and invest in long-term stability. It requires citizens to demand policies that prioritize peace and prosperity over posturing and escalation. And it requires all of us to recognize that the health of the global economy depends on the security of its weakest links. If this analysis provided value, please like this video, subscribe to Power Clash Report, and share it with someone who needs to understand these developments. Turn on notifications so you do not miss our updates as this story evolves. In the description below, you will find links to credible sources, official statements, and further reading on this topic. We are committed to bringing you signal in a world of noise. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay safe, and remember, in a world of increasing uncertainty, clarity is the most valuable asset we have.